Hello, Flawless family. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Malcolm Norman, who's a rising senior studying pre-med at New York University, currently an intern with our friends at ThinkKids, and will be one of the leaders in the next generation of the mental health field. So thank you so much for joining us, Malcolm.
Thank you. It's nice talking to you again. It was really nice meeting you, and I'm excited to be here. Well, be here remotely.
Of course, because of COVID-19. But speaking of us having to do this remotely, it's just been such a tough year with everything going around. Racial justice situation, COVID-19. A lot's been happening this year. So I want to ask you, like, how are you really doing right now?
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely been a tough year, particularly adjusting to like remote classes and remote work. It's been pretty stressful, especially with like finding research positions too, or just any job. Like a lot of employers have canceled their positions due to the pandemic, but I mean, I'm pushing through to the best of my ability, getting all the work done for my internship as well as for like my MCAT studying. I'm just pushing through. I'm just continuing as hard as I can, making sure I get everything done. How are you doing though?
I think you're the first person to ask me how I was doing in return. So
Really?
I appreciate that. But no, I mean, since you asked, I'm doing well, kind of similar situation. I'm getting ready to go to grad school and things are all up in the air with our classes going to be online, classes going to be remote, in person, what are we doing? So that's been tough. And like everybody else, just dealing with, everything that happened with COVID-19 and how that's affected, you know, my life, what made me my comfort zone, not being able to do everything you want to do, not be able to have the summer everybody wanted to have. So it's been tough, but kind of like you, just pushing through, managing, and just trying to get better every day. So I appreciate you asking.
Yeah,
Uh,
no doubt. Of course.
of course, yeah, but taking my job back and asking the
Yeah.
question. So we just talked about school a little bit, and as I mentioned, you're entering your senior year at NYU. So, what is it like to be a student during a global pandemic? What has that been for you?
To be completely honest, being a student during a global pandemic is definitely not ideal. Um, I find these remote classes to be much more mentally draining than in-person classes, and it also takes away from the social aspect of school. So most of NYU's classes have gone online, except like small classes which will remain in person. So I'm definitely going to be relying on those just to like, get that little social aspect of college. Because other than that, I'm basically going to be in the dorm all day studying or in my online classes. So it's it's not ideal, but I mean, like I said earlier, you just got to push through. There's nothing I can do about it, but keep working.
And the social side of that is so important that we're starting to see today.
Yeah.
Like having a social distance, having to lose that in-person connection is tough for all of us. Now,
Mhm.
has besides going online for some classes, has NYU said anything about how they plan to accommodate you all or keep you safe? Have they mentioned anything about that?
Yeah, so I believe they're requiring students to wear masks when not in their dorms, and also students are not allowed to go into dorms except their own.
Mm-hmm.
They've also like spread out a lot of students in the dorm. So like, for example, like the room I'm in is normally for 6 people, and there's gonna be 4 of us. So they're just kind of like keeping some spaces open to keep people spread out. And I think like with dining halls, it's only to go food. Like no one can sit in and eat. So I guess just kind of trying to keep the social distancing going as much as they can and making sure students wear masks. That's basically what they've been doing.
And I my alma mater, Columbia University, is in the same city as NYU, so
Mhm.
I understand that geography a bit. And New York, New York City is not a very socially distant city. It's a very cramped city. So, does that worry you at all? Like, I remember being in New York, riding the subway, walking in the street, and it's like there's really very little personal space. So, how you going back to NYU, like, does that worry you at all?
So it does worry me just because, I mean, I of course don't know what everyone else in the dorm is even doing, or like what some of my roommates will even be doing outside of the dorm. But I'm just gonna take the most precautions that I can. not going to be taking the subway. I'm going to be bringing my bike back to New York City. So if I need to get somewhere, I'll just ride the bike rather than taking like the NYU shuttle or something like that. Or if there's places I can walk, I'll walk. I usually walk places anyways. So I'm just going to try to stay away from people outside of my dorm as much as I can, for sure. I'm going to try to be safe. I'm not catching corona. I can't allow that.
Right. And, so we've spoken about Corona and how tough that's been. But then at the same time, as, Black men during this time, we've also had to deal with the emotional challenge of fighting for racial justice, that's been so prominent in the news recently. So how have you been dealing with, really, I think the pinnacle of it was the death of George Floyd. Like, what was your reaction to that, and how have you been dealing with all the ranges of emotions?
Yeah, it's definitely had an emotional impact on my life, particularly just dealing with the people who refuse to understand like the challenges that we face as people of color. I've gone to a few protests wearing a mask, of course, and I've been posting a lot on social media in order to remind people that this isn't over and we must keep fighting for equality. It is time for change, and I'll continue to post and spread the word about racial injustices in America. I mean, like as a Black man yourself, it's been tough during times like these. I'm sure you've dealt with racism yourself. I know I have, and this is just a time for all of us to come together and just make things happen. I think this generation, like my generation, we're gonna create unbelievable change. I see like a lot of change happening. Definitely. I mean, I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I think you can see by how the Black Lives Matter protests have been, like, things are definitely changing, and I'm excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, definitely. And the best thing that you said is that we all got to come together and to do this together, united, and that's something that we've all been working towards. And like you said, I've definitely dealt with it as well, so, I can empathize with you on that realm. But then, as I've also mentioned, first us being Black men, but then like you are going to be, I can already tell right now, you're going to be one of the leaders of mental health moving forward. And, we kind of have similar aspirations, but, I saw this infographic the other day. The Kennedy Forum actually posted on their Instagram, and it said only 4% of psychologists are Black and only 2% of psychiatrists are Black. And you've mentioned wanting to go in the field of psychiatry, and I want to go in the field of psychology. So to me, these numbers were really, shocking to see. So I kind of just want to get your initial reaction to that, and then, your comments on how inaccessible this field seems to be to our community.
Yeah, so I think it's honestly really sad that those numbers are that low. I mean, I think it also provides us with a chance to inspire the people who come after us. You being a Black man going into psychology and me trying to go into psychiatry, I think just having the younger generation come after us, they might look up to us and be like, oh, this Black man did it, so why can't I do it too? So I think it provides a perfect opportunity for us to inspire the people who come after us, but also to just change the fields in general. Like, people who might not even know us, they might see the numbers rise like each year, and that might just encourage people to apply or switch or follow their interests. And I think it could have a huge impact. Just even one person, I think each individual matters in terms of Black people becoming a part of these fields. And so I think it's unfortunate that the numbers are that low, but I think it really does provide an opportunity for us to create change.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you 100%. But another, obstacle in the way seems to be a bit of a stigma in our community. And I've spoken about this with other, Black people who have made it to the field. So what do you have to say about the discrimination towards mental health in our community? I don't know if you've ever dealt with it personally on a personal level or not, but it just seems to be this huge discrimination surrounding it. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think, so you mean in terms of like Black people and dealing with mental health?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it's huge and absolutely necessary that Black people take mental health seriously. I love being a person of color, but there's no doubt that it comes with baggage. Like, we all deal with our own challenges. Minorities face issues on a daily basis due to systemic racism, as well as just racism in general in their daily lives. And I think that they should all take their mental health seriously and focus time on self-care, particularly during times like these. I don't want to speak for everyone else, but I know that many young males have been told by their parents to just, toughen up and be a man, which
Mhm.
prevents them from ever expressing their emotions. And so I believe that just taking that step forward to where Black people take mental health more seriously, or even if they are already taking it seriously, just express their emotions more. I think that's huge, especially during, these are tough times with not only the pandemic, but, all the racially charged things going on right now. So I think it's huge. I think the mental health field is huge right now for psychology, psychiatry, everything else. I think it's a big field, and Black people definitely need to be a part of it. I think it would influence a lot of other people of color's perspectives on mental health, and I think it could change the world, honestly.
I agree 100%. And I also can, have the same memory of being told like, oh, don't cry, or, what I'm saying, like wipe your tears or whatever, and not allowing me as a child to just truly feel my feelings. So, again, a similar experience for both of us. But because of all these challenges, there's been efforts that have been made to bring more awareness to the cause. And, so what do you think of campaigns like Minority Mental Health Month, which is, now even being called, BIPOC Month, Black, Indigenous, People of Color Mental Health Month? Because people go two ways on it, people go both ways on it. So I don't know if you have any strong opinions on these awareness months.
Yeah, so I think basically just going off what I just said, I think Mental Health Awareness Month would be great for people of color, especially in terms of helping people of color understand that it's okay to struggle mentally. It's okay to go through things. It's okay to express your emotions. I think, going back to what I already said, a lot of us are told, I'm not going to speak on women's behalf, but a lot of men are told, be a man, like 50 years away, like you said. And I think the mental health awareness months could help people understand it's okay to cry, it's okay to go through things, it's okay to seek help. And I think having a month dedicated to that would create a lot of change.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting stance on it. I think you're right. It's always good to bring awareness wherever we can. But you've also, I remember a little bit earlier, you mentioned how important self-care is. So I gotta know, what are your top self-care strategies or tips that you do that other people can learn from?
Yeah, so my biggest self-care strategy has been going to the gym. It honestly just helps me keep a more peaceful mind as well as bring positive emotions into my life, such as when I achieve a new goal and I get really excited or something like that. That's been a main strategy of self-care for me. I also think taking some free time to rest is extremely important. Like, it's too mentally, physically, and emotionally taxing to constantly be focused on school, work, or any other responsibilities. And my advice to anyone else would be to just find an activity, whether physical or not, and set realistic goals for you to achieve, because there's no better feeling than improving yourself and overcoming obstacles that prevent you from reaching those goals. So I think just having that motivation and then achieving like a new peak, I think it's great for your mental health. It's just good. It's a good self-care strategy, whether it's physical, mental, whatever anyone can think of. Everyone has different hobbies. So I think just having goals and realistic goals and being able to achieve those.
Listen, man, I swear you're like trying to come for my job because yeah, we have too many similar experiences in our background. We're both going to this field. You're asking me questions, and now you're
Yeah.
saying your self care strategy is going to the gym, which is my self care strategy. So I gotta watch you, man. I don't know if you're trying to come for my job or what, but everything
What's
you
that
said.
bench press looking like?
Like, hey, listen, I just did a bench press fundraiser. Look, I'm ready. I'm in there.
Real? What's the max? What's the max?
Like 265, nothing too crazy. Humble numbers.
I got, I got.
Okay, what are you throwing up?
Before quarantine, so I just started going to the gym again because the gyms are closed. But before quarantine, my max was 225.
Okay,
Um,
that's NFL
so
combine.
yeah, so that's not bad. I'm only about I'm about 160ish, so I'll take my 225.
Yeah, no, listen, 2 plates. That's a good number. That's a good number. We're
Yeah,
gonna have to touch more on the gym after this, but
for sure, for
thanks
sure.
for the interview. Uh, at Flawless, we believe that everyone is imperfect in their flaws, and that is what makes us perfect. That is what makes us flawless. So, kind of what our tagline is, we always like to end by asking people what flawless is, or how do they see the perfection in every person. So just kind of looking at people through the lens of light, and just bringing some strength to the word flawless. So I want to ask you, like, what does being flawless mean to you? What does that word mean to you?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, to me, not everyone is perfect. We all have our own flaws, but being imperfect in our flaws would mean one of two things to me, depending on the scenario. To me, it would either be not accepting the flaw and allowing it to be part of yourself. So you focus on improving yourself every day. You focus on becoming a better version of yourself rather than giving up and just accepting the flaw. In this scenario, it might be something like you don't think you're a hard enough worker when it comes to school. So maybe you start going to the library once a week, and then after a couple of weeks, you go twice a week, and you just continue to improve each week or other week, whatever goal you set for yourself. You don't give up on yourself and try to better yourself to the best of your ability. The other option would be to embrace the flaw as being part of who you are and love yourself rather than letting that flaw control the way you see yourself. In this scenario, it might be something maybe more like a physical flaw,
Mm-hmm.
something that someone can't control. So rather than focusing on that flaw from a negative perspective, they should embrace that it is a part of them and it is what makes them perfect. So
I
to
love
me,
it.
it just depends on the scenario.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. It's a great answer. So my true last question for you is, you know, I also want to ask you, like, what is giving you hope right now? What is giving you hope for a flawless world? Or what would a flawless world look like to you? If you could create and perfect and, you're the one behind the scenes, what is a flawless world looking like to you?
Yeah. So I'll talk about like a flawless world in terms of like my own life, and then I could talk more just like in general. Um, so I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but I'm from a small city in Massachusetts called Chelsea, which is literally 5 minutes from Boston. Growing up, it was most definitely not the safest environment, and we didn't have much money either. It's being gentrified now, which is pretty sad, but that's beside the point. Um, what gives me hope is the idea of me becoming successful enough to buy my mother a house. I mean, she has sacrificed so much for me, and the idea of giving her a dream home one day pushes me to work harder every single day. Along with that, even though I'm definitely not having kids anytime soon, I want to create a prosperous future for my children that I was not blessed with as a child. I don't want my family to ever have to worry about our financial situation. However, the most important aspect of my flawless world would be to make a difference in the world in any way possible, whether that's changing a single patient's life when I'm a doctor for the better, or contributing to racial justice and equality being achieved for Black people or all people of color, or providing an opportunity to someone who grew up in a similar neighborhood and situation as me. Because everyone needs their role models, and I would love to just, there's no way I'd be here today without the people who've been my role models. I went to the Boys and Girls Club a lot as a kid, and I would say that without the Boys and Girls Club, there's no way I would be here. Um, just the connections it's helped me build, just having a safe place to be, and like the role models it's provided me with have been huge. And I'd like, to have that same effect on someone. So I just want to be able to have an impact on the world for the better. Um, in terms of just the general world, a flawless world, I guess just, equality, fairness for all people, regardless of race, color, creed, sexuality, religion, anything. I guess just everyone is living on fair ground, and everyone loves each other. I mean, you turn on the news and you see so much hate, whether it's in America, well, especially America, but all throughout the world, you'll see different examples of hate. And I guess just a peaceful world, which it's going to be hard to achieve that, but that would be my ideal flawless world in terms of outside of my personal life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful answer, Malcolm. And just from our two conversations, from what I've gotten to know you, I think I love how you're setting goals, and I think you're gonna smash all of them. So, you know, I think you're gonna get your mom that house and more, man. So I'm glad to see you on that path. I'm always glad to see someone that looks a little bit like me in this field, you know. So thank you, Malcolm, for joining us. Thank you for giving us your insight.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
And of course, thank you all for watching. So if you want to learn more about ThinkKids, where Malcolm's interning, make sure you check the description below, where you can follow them on all their social media platforms.